Geocache-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
For the Bad Cop, I'm Daryl.44, and we're back with a different subject and guest than we'd expected for this, the 44th installment of the GeoGearHeads. Unfortunately, Bruce of Cache Sense was called away on an urgent family matter and wasn't able to get a good connection to join us. We wish him and his family the best and hope to get him rescheduled soon. Fortunately, one of the other guests we'd been working to get scheduled for a later show was available, so we're talking Earth caching gear with ClickChick tonight.
You know, we've had many requests for this show, and I'm glad it worked out for ClickChick that she was available to join us. But before we get to her, we've got a big old pile of feedback, some of which we're going to save for next week.
Yeah, indeed. And we're going to start off with, I'm not sure if I'm going to totally butcher this, is YRaft of Arizona, and he emailed, thank you all for bringing Jeep in Idaho onto the show. There's one important OHV point that was not covered, though. Tread lightly. It's a very important off-road vehicles to do no extra damage to the land. I have been four-wheeling for 15 years and have been part of Arizona's trails. I have seen parts of Arizona's trails closed due to trucks, quads, and motorcycles tearing up the land. When people take their vehicles off the trail, they do damage to the area that is not immediately seen. The new trails created start a new path for water to wash away the plants and dirt. In my area of Arizona, this has led to the Forest Service closing the usage to OHVs. Arizona started an extra tag for OHVs to help offset the cost of repair and enforcement. With a little care, we can keep the trails open for all to enjoy. And now we have a voicemail, which is our next bit of feedback.
Oh, hello, guys. This is DeBear from Lenore, North Carolina. I was just listening to your Randomized Fix episode. You were talking about on the iPhones doing voice transcriptions, and it required networking, and you also said it does on the Android. That's no longer true. On the Jelly Bean version, you can do voice transcription on the device itself, so you don't even need a data connection to do that. Just want to give that a heads up. See you guys later. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, because I had forgotten that was mentioned in the Jelly Bean announcement, and no one ever really made much of a deal about that. But I did find a quote through CNET credited to Hugo Barra, and it said, in Jelly Bean, we shrank the Google Speech Recognizer that runs in our data centers to fit on the device itself. If you have a poor connection or are offline, you can still type with your device. Now, that's another great feature, and I could possibly see grabbing a Nexus 4 without the data service as a primary caching and Munzie device, but that's going to be a topic for another show.
That it is, and thanks again. That is a great tip. I'm going to have to try that out. Now, we got more feedback from Lafitte FL from Florida. This is some feedback on last week's show. I was in a forest area grabbing a couple of FTS when I noticed a spot that looked like a good spot for a cache. I grabbed a container and my GPS and approached the spot ready to take some cords. As I reached down to place my container, I noticed something in the exact spot I was going to put mine. It was a geocache. I opened the container, and there was a clean log. So I signed it and put it back. It hadn't been published. I had to wait 2 weeks for it to be published before I could claim the FTF, and that was a first for me, an FTF before the cache was published. Good work on that. And I don't think I've ever found a cache before it was published. Now, we have right there, we have a voicemail from Nighthawk 700. Go ahead and let's play that.
Hello, GeoGearHeads. This is Nighthawk 700 calling from Baltimore, Maryland, where we're just starting to get hit with heavy rain from Hurricane Sandy. I figured I'd call you before I lose my power again. In your last episode, you talked about finding letterboxes near geocaches. Here in Baltimore, we had the beautiful Cyburn Arboretum. The past summer, we had a staff there who was working with kids who attended a summer camp, and she was teaching them how to do geocaching. As a part of that, they placed several new geocaches on the ground, but they found out that after placing 4 new ones, there are geocachers who are finding several letterboxes instead of the caches, and it was causing a lot of confusion. So some of the caches were moved further away so they could distinguish them from the letterboxes. I was able to get a list of letterboxes on the ground and the descriptions on how to find them from Atlas Quest. I sent them to the staffer who had placed in the caches. So next year they plan to place more of them, and they want to avoid where the letterboxes are. So I just wanted to give you another example of the conflict out there. Thanks for the show, and now I'm looking forward to hearing Bruce talk about cache sense.
Well, thank you, Nighthawk 700. Unfortunately, we don't have Bruce with us tonight, but that's okay. He'll be coming up as soon as he's available.
Yeah, but we did get a number of questions and comments, and we have 2 of those today, and we'll start off with some more voicemail.
Hi, this is Sandy from Team Orville in Ukiah, California. I recently switched from iPhone to Android. With my iPhone, I love Geosphere. I was very disappointed that it was not available for my HTC One X. So I tried many, if not all, the Android apps and wasn't satisfied until you recommended CacheSense. It had my personal requirements, which was number 1, the ability to download GPX files, and number 2, turn-by-turn navigation. What I'm having a hard time figuring out is how to upload field notes. With Geosphere in the official geocaching app, there is one touch button to upload field notes. I was also wondering if there was a way to email field notes to myself so I could share them with friends when we go out in a group. I guess that's it for now. Thanks for all the great shows you and information you provide.
Well, thank you for sending us that question and for listening. Bruce was able to get back with us on this voicemail before we unfortunately lost him to that urgent family matter. And he said that CacheSense is using the Geocaching Live API, so field notes are published directly, either as logs or as field notes. You can also export the field notes to GSEC in Garmin format, but there is no function to email the field notes in the Android version. That was an old pre-API BlackBerry function.
There we go. Now, keeping on this feedback train that we've got TNT from Bentonville, Arkansas, who wrote via email. I just wanted to say that I generally enjoy your show. I really enjoy the new Munzie addition to CacheSense. My problem comes that when I'm out making a run. After I found several geocaches and several Munzies, I want to clear these icons from the map. I found out how to do so to clear the geocaches, but I need help in clearing the Munzies.
Yeah, now this is a common problem that even the most experienced Android cachers seem to have missed. There's actually 2 things that you'll need to set up. First, tap on the gear icon in the top right for the settings and scroll down to the Munzie preferences. Open that and make sure you've entered your Munzie name exactly as it is on the Munzie site. The second part, which seems to be the one most often missed, from the map screen, tap the funnel icon in the upper right for the map filters. Uncheck the Show Captured Munzies, and they'll disappear when refreshing. There are a couple of options in there as well that you might want to uncheck, like the Show Owned Munzies and the Show Found Caches.
Now, he wrote back, I already have those things set that way, and the Munzies don't clear. I was thinking that was due to them being saved to a cache, but even so, I can't figure out how to clear the Munzie cache, and I can't tell when the app is querying the API. It seems that at some point after exiting the app and later coming back, those old Munzies are gone. Oh well, small price to pay to have caches and Munzies visible in one app.
Yeah, now there's some interesting issues there, and hopefully we'll be able to get more from Bruce before too long. In the meantime, I've had some of these issues, and getting the map to refresh has been a situation that I've run into, so I think that's probably what he's saying. The only thing I've done that seems to refresh and work for me is to pan to a different part of the map, zoom, and force a reload there. Then I'll pan back, and I usually get the Munzies to load.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for all that great feedback. And there's Daryl right now dropping those names into the box for the drawing for these great gifts donated by GeoMate for Geocaching, Beta.44 Colorado, Magellan, and ourselves. And since all these contributors are within North America, they're eligible for all the gifts, including the GeoMate Junior with Update Kit, the GeoMate Large Log Cache, and the GeoMate Gnome Cache. So, no matter where you are in the planet, contributions, no matter from where you are on the planet, contributors could also get the Magellan Exploris GC or one of a number of cool gifts we'll be tossing into the mix. Next week, you'll have another opportunity to call or email your options for VBPAD, who's joining us to talk about GSAC and pocket queries. This actually is a topic suggested by, and again, I hope I'm not messing up the name too much, Hakuin, and his question sent into the show. So you can send in questions on GSAC and pocket queries for next Thursday's recording. Feedback on this or any of the shows, or questions, comments, topics for upcoming randomized show, whatever you want. If they're big topics like this one, we might even turn them into full episodes.
Now, if you want to get in on those drawings for those gifts, call or write in your comments or questions by November 28th. And if we use it on the show, your name will be dropped into the drawing during Beta.44 show. When sending us your feedback, make sure to include your geocaching.com screen name and your home location, like Chicago, Illinois. You can email those to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or call the voicemail line at 206-350-3647. Now, we mentioned early on in the show that we've got Click Chick on, so let's welcome her to the show.
Thank you, guys. It was nice to be on with you.
Oh, it's great to have you. We know that you're one of the experts in our caching community on Earthcaches. So give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay, I've been geocaching since 2006, me and my husband, and usually one or more dog joining us. Ever since the beginning, I wanted to put out Earthcaches. I've kind of fallen down on that. I am a Earthcache Platinum, and I'm working now. I guess there's now more levels where it doesn't require. It's how many Earthcaches have you visited. So the first step is like 50 and 100, and goes up to 500 and 1,000. So 1,000 Earthcaches is a lot of Earthcaches, especially here in the eastern United States. And out west, it's a little different story. There are more geology exposed. There's less of that biological cover to hide some of the geology. So Earthcaches, there are more Earthcaches out west than there are here in the eastern United States, which is too bad. We just need to put more out.
Yeah, good thing to encourage more caches to place them. But as I recall, you also have some formal training that kind of helps you with Earthcache.
Yes, I actually am a geologist. I have a master's degree in geology, and my specialty, I'm going to laugh, stable isotope geochemistry, which I hopefully will not run into too many Earthcaches with that information required.
I should hope not. So now, in this vein of discussion, we've also gotten some feedback, again from Lafitte FL of Florida. He wrote, I have a couple of questions regarding Earthcaches. One, I've done a few Earthcaches that seem to require a photo be attached to your log. Is this an additional logging requirement, or does that not apply to Earthcaches?
That certainly applies to Earthcaches. Photos are to be optional. That came down at the same time it came down with every other cache. I like photos. I have it listed as an optional item. I love it when a family shows up and standing by a sign where they're all out on the one of my particular ones is at a fin, and to see a bunch of kids and a person just showing a GPS there is like, and a lot of people don't know that place is there, and it's a natural area, and it's a very unusual wetland for our area called a fen, and but its roots lie in geology why it's there. So that's one of my favorite things, is to see people doing this, going there, rather than just sending me it's so many feet for this and so many feet for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did actually do a little bit of official research, as it were, and from Groundspeak's Help Center, and we'll include the link in the show notes, it says that unlike physical caches where additional logging requirements are optional, an Earth cache requires geocachers comply with all instructions in order to complete the online cache. See earthcache.org for a comprehensive Earth cache logging guidelines, including that photographic logs must be optional for all Earth caches. And then if you go to the GSA Earth cache guidelines, under number 7 it says requests for photographs must be optional. Exceptions to this guideline will only be considered if the requested photograph is related to an Earth science logging activity, such as a recording phenomenon. This particular guideline was updated on January 1st, 2011. All Earth caches must conform to this guideline, as photos requested are considered optional tasks, and the following guidelines set forth by geocaching.com. Existing Earth caches that do not meet this guideline must be updated to comply. Cache owners may not delete the cache's log based solely on optional tasks. So from those two bits of information, we can kind of assume that it is permissible in certain cases, but you have to get an exception from Earth caching to require a photo, and it has to be specifically for a logging requirement or a recording requirement.
So for an example, up here, there's an Earth cache near one of our glaciers on the mountains, and a photo is required to watch that glacier's movement. That's a good example of recording that phenomenon.
Well, he also asked if, as a second point, does the saturation requirement 528 feet from other cache types, i.e. traditional, apply to Earth caches, or can an Earth cache be right next to a traditional?
No, it can be right next to a traditional. That's one thing that didn't change. A little background on this. Originally, these were only handled by the GSA people, and they didn't have the reviewer status that they have now, so they couldn't see the proximity. One of the things that I did when I created my CAME Earth cache, we came, we saw, we conquered, was that it was less than 500 feet from a rather old geocache in the area, and I didn't want to, it was significantly enough away that you wouldn't mistake the two of them. I asked the owner permission. He granted it gladly. However, it does get confusing, because when I was just recently in Kentucky at almost said Mammoth Lake. That's California. Mammoth Caves National Park. Several very close place Earth caches were overlapping. So if you wasn't zoomed in a lot, you could be confused which one that you were actually at. So I think we ended up just picking one and going with that. And like I said, it is an advantage for me, who doesn't need to go and look everything up. A lot of the stuff, in fact, that's my specialty, is limestone. So it was really fun to do to do that one.
So will you come with me and help me out on all these Earth caches?
I'm a little far from you.
Okay, next time I'm in that area, we're going Earth caching.
Okay.
Now, we looked up from the Groundspeak Help Center on creating an Earth cache, and we read, proximity. An Earth cache may be placed near a physical cache, traditional or final stage of a multi-mystery. However, we ask that you do not place it at the exact same coordinates in order to avoid confusion that the cache container belongs to the Earth cache. If an existing physical cache highlights the same feature as an Earth cache submission, the Earth cache listing may be rejected. Content rather than physical proximity is the guiding factor when determining what can be published. Multiple Earth caches may be developed at the same location, but only if they provide distinctive Earth science lessons. Cache owners may find it better to combine the lessons into one Earth cache. So there's the official wording.
Indeed. All right, and again, we'll link to that in the show notes, so anyone who wants to look that official information up and see for themselves, that is available. But now we have another question, again from that same email, and this one isn't something that we could really look up, so we're going to have to defer to ClickChick for her expertise on this. And he asked, I've noticed a few more Earth caches popping up in our area. Have they become easier to submit and or gotten easier to get approved than they have been in the past?
There are more reviewers now. There used to be one person, literally, one person who'd had to do it all. And now there are more reviewers, so they're getting up quicker. We've had a number of archived, and because unlike other caches, vacation, they want to call them vacation caches. Vacation Earth caches are allowed. However, you need to have visited there at some point within the last 2 months of placing it. Now, myself, I have an Earth cache that is 30-some miles away from my house, which I visit just about once a year. It's a well-established park. I get a lot of hits on it. It's just a really neat place up in Wisconsin, near the Ice Age Trail. So if you're out west, and it's something that's unlike a physical container where you'd have to replace it, you can place an Earth cache in some remote location that nobody else may know about.
Nice. But, 30 miles is not all that far from home. It's not as if you've put one up on Mount Rainier, that's 2,000 miles away.
Well, it's not like Mount Rainier's going away anytime soon until it decides to explode like Mount St. Helens has. And then it'll still be there, just in pieces. Exactly.
It'll be, it won't be as tall, but it'll be wider.
Yeah, you'll have to adjust your logging requirements a little bit. Now, one of the things I have heard from some of the Earth cache enthusiasts around here is it has become a little easier because people are now more familiar with the process and what can be approved and what can't be approved. So their understanding of the whole thing has made it easier, and they're passing that information on to other cachers, and word's getting around on how to do this, because it was fairly new to geocaching only about a year ago.
So now I'm not that big into Earth caching. What would be a good thing for me to put together as kind of an Earth cache finder's kit?
Earth cache finder's kit? Something to measure. Well, what I generally keep in my car at all times is I keep a little vial of pH strips, a thermometer, preferably one that is sturdy and won't break, which eliminates anything that's made of glass. Right. Anything that requires batteries. So your standard $3 kitchen thermometer that's going to measure from below freezing to 100 degrees Celsius with 212 Fahrenheit. That's going to be fine. That's going to give you the range if you're in an area, like in our area, it's well within the range of that. If you've got hot springs that you need to measure the temperature of, that is going to be kind of borderline in that, but most likely you're going to say it's around 212 or so, right, in there. Measuring tape. Whether and something, a retractable one is probably the best, storage wise and availability, because sometimes you're going to be measuring yards, other times you're going to be measuring inches or centimeters. And I'm saying this because I know we have people who listen that are in Canada or elsewhere in the world as well. Some of the artesian well caches, they want to know how long it takes you per liter or per quart or per gallon, having a container, whether it's a milk jug or a water bottle that you can measure and time. Another thing you need is a stopwatch. I happen to live with a stopwatch as part of my watch, but not everybody has that. So a stopwatch is real handy. Flow rates, whether we're in, say, a river. When I did it, I threw a leaf in the river and measured off. Another thing you might want to do if you're planning on doing earth caches is to know what the length of your stride is. I find that I have a 27.5-inch stride. Then I can use that to measure off things that are quite long. My fin cache asks how long is the reed sedge area, how long is the actual fin part of the wetland. So that is where you're not going to have your measuring tape is just not going to be long enough. That's to your advantage. Some caches we're going to ask you for angles between fractures or cracks or angles in the mineral specimens. So a protractor would be handy. Always a notebook. Always, always, always. Write things down, draw things if you need to. That way when you get home and says, oh, I need to look this up. Earth caches don't always have a sign there, and that's probably one of my bugaboos, is that most people, they're going to place an earth cache at the point where there's an information sign. And if there is an information sign where I make an earth cache, I'm going to ask you more than what's on that sign. And you may have to do a little research, but what you're researching is at that site. It's not something where I'm going to make you just spew the information off the sign. A camera can be to your advantage, though, if there is a sign there and you need information off of it. And that way you have a photographic record and you're not relying on your memory to say, now, did the sign say 50,000 years ago or was it 75,000 years ago? Those are the kind of details that go in one brain, my part of the brain, go out the other. If you tell me if it's the Eocene or the Oligocene or the Paleozoic, I'm fine. But when you start giving me numbers, I'm going, oh, how many thousands, millions of years is that?
Oh, please give me numbers.
Yeah, for that end of it, I really do love using Evernote, and we did the show on that several episodes ago. And what I'll do is take a photo of all of those signs, anything like that that has information I might possibly need, and in that same note, right under it, I type it in again so that it's just real nice, easy, handy. And that's what I use for my notebook. Plus, if I ever get a call from someone, I can pull it up again and say, oh, yes, here's what you're looking for. It's on that sign. It's the 5th line. And, we have actually had a couple of situations where signs have been removed and people have called for information hoping that we could help them with the missing sign problem.
Wow.
Now, the missing sign problem is one reason why I don't like to use signs, because signs get updated, signs get stolen. As much as we don't like to talk about that, they do get stolen, or defaced, or changed. I know some virtual caches where that probably should be archived because of that.
Yeah, that is an issue. And there are some signs that just have been out for so long that they've weathered to the point where you can't see them. Well, we did have some more feedback this time from Krista and Jeff of Calgary, Alberta, and they emailed us, so they're going in the contest as well. And they said that earth caching is interesting where we're at the foot of the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, Canada. There are lots of interesting things to see that are left over from when glaciers moved across the land in order to create these mountains. Some of our favorite items to take with them, and a few tips when they go earth caching. Camera, of course, a GPS or smartphone, flashlight, binoculars. Sometimes the information is farther away than you think. Practice estimating skills, i.e. how wide is the valley or how high is the hill, which, Chick, you were talking about that with your stride. Another great way to estimate things, but maybe you need to get a little bit better if you have to estimate the height and not have something that you have to physically climb, because I don't think you want to go climbing Mount Rainier just to find out how long or how high it is.
Trees are your friend.
Yeah, they can be, but they can also be a little deceiving. But for estimating, it probably works just fine. They also say to read the description on the cache page. It often contains the answers required rather than having to go to Google, and you might end up getting them wrong if you do. Another good point. And be timely in your email answers. It's easier for the cache owner and for you to remember what you saw. And that is a good point. If you do happen across any problems where someone asks you, because we've seen that where the answer isn't what the cache owner expects, and he might ask for some clarification. And I'm thinking of one in particular. And in our particular case, the cache owner knew we were there, but it didn't jive with his information, and it just happened to be that in our case, it had been a dry year, and whatever it was that he was asking us to look at, and probably not that it matters because I'm not going to give anything away with the cache or anything, but the flow rates had actually reversed. It was actually flowing the opposite direction of what it was supposed to be flowing, because this one area had not enough rain to keep the rivers going.
Wow. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a river flow the other way.
Yeah.
Now, we got more feedback from Nighthawk 700 via Google+. He wrote, my earth caching gear usually consists of a printout. Many Earthcache pages are too large and complex for paperless caching. More paper to jot down answers, so the notebook, and a decent camera to take a picture of the object or objects, answer to questions, etc. The part I'm having trouble with is finding something to use to set up an Earthcache myself. ClickCheck has placed 4 Earthcaches. So if they have any suggestions for finding geologically significant items for Earthcaches, I'd welcome them.
Oh, and unfortunately it looks like we lost her for a moment.
We lost her.
One thing I did want to bring up, though, and hopefully she'll be able to reconnect in the meantime, is one of the things that I really like about having that measuring, liquid measuring device, like a gallon jug. We actually got one that has the measuring lines, predefined. It's not as cheap as grabbing a milk jug or something, but we put our whole Earthcache into this jug, which has the screw-on lid and everything. So if we need to, we can measure the flow rates or whatever with that one device and throw everything in when we're done. We can do the we actually keep some samples, because in some cases we've actually come across containers, preformed, I should say, preforms with us, because in some cases we've actually run across situations where they'll want us to take a water sample and let it settle for a day or two and see what falls out. So that's another thing that we've added to our Earthcache kit. Again, we don't see many of those kind of things, but we do see that from time to time. So, something excellent to have around.
Okay,
Exactly.
I did lose you guys.
Yeah, we noticed. So we were just talking about a couple of additional things. All right. So let's get back to Nighthawk 700's question here, which was any suggestions for finding geologically significant items that he could use for an Earthcache?
Okay. I don't know where I left off, but your state's geological survey will have a map of the basement geology and of the surface geology of your area. That's one place I would recommend starting. If there are state parks often have information. Your county parks may have somebody there that knows the geology. As you get up into the smaller areas, usually there's less knowledgeable people But the State Geological Survey can certainly help with notable things. Say over in this area there is meteor impact site, there is the ridges that separate us from Lake Michigan and all the glacial ridges. This is a heavily glaciated area, so there's a lot of different things that you can do in this particular county that I just haven't done yet. So I would start with the State Geological Survey. Your local community college, if you have a community college or regional campus, talk to the geologists there. They can give you pointers on that. They're happy to help the public. Most professors or instructors at these levels offer classes in the local geology or can point you in a direction. If you have a major university nearby, contacting the geology department there, and they can recommend, maybe they can recommend somebody in your local area, or they have a specialist in that geology that's present in your area. It's like out near Whitewater, Wisconsin, you have the drumlin fields, which is like an example shown in textbooks. Maybe somebody who's looking to put an earth cache in Whitewater, Wisconsin, wouldn't even realize that these hills that these farms are on are such a beautiful example. But if they contacted the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, the geologist there would certainly know about that. These are the kind of things where you can get a good start, and talking to actual people who do geology is really going to help. The artesian well caches are nice and everything, but to be able to walk into some little park and show this is a drumlin, or this is a came, or this is an outwash plain, and why you don't want to build a shopping center here, or different kinds of wetlands. Now, I will say this: one of the things that are not allowed in earth caches is biological. If the area's biology is due to a certain type of geology, then that is okay, such as the fin. The geology of the fin and the plants that live in it are directly related. But you can't go over and take a look at a prairie savanna and talk about the fires going through it. That's not geology. That's actually ecology, and they're going to reject it for that reason.
Good to know.
Well, unfortunately, we seem to be having some issues with your connection, and it's been breaking up. So I think what we're going to do is wrap up this episode now, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on again sometime.
That would be great, guys. I'd be happy to join you guys again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on, and thank you very much again for joining us tonight. Now, next week, we're thrilled to have VBPAD join us to talk about GSAC and pocket queries. So that's another great chance to get your questions in for a chance at one of those great gifts from GeoMate for geocaching Beta.44 Colorado, Magellan, and a few of our own. Remember, when calling or emailing, that we need your geocaching.com screen name and your location. We love getting that feedback in your own voice, and you can email those files to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com, or just call them into the voicemail line at 206-350-3647. You can also watch us record these shows live through the Google Plus Hangout on Air on YouTube. Watch the GeoGearHeads Google Plus page or Twitter for those links shortly after 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays, or 2 a.m. Fridays, UTC.
Check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com, or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider making a PayPal donation through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show is copyright 2012 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.